and welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Meeting House of Provincetown's Sunday service. We're so happy you can be with us this morning. My name is Kathleen, and I'm a member of the worship committee, which is bringing you today's service because this Sunday is Reverend Kate's day off. She will be back next Sunday. Jane Lea is presenting the sermon this morning. Here at the Meeting House, we affirm the inherent worth and dignity of every person, and we support each other in our spiritual search for truth and meaning. Now imagine you hear the ring of the bell calling us to reflect, and as I light our chalice candle, light a candle yourself wherever you are to symbolize we are together, even though we are apart.
Community Means Strength by Starhawk. We are all longing to go home to some place we have never been, a place half remembered and half envisioned, we can only catch glimpses of from time to time. Community. Somewhere there are people to whom we can speak with passion without having the words catch in our throats. Somewhere a circle of hands will open to receive us. Eyes will light up as we enter. Voices will celebrate with us whenever we come into our own power. Community means strength that joins our strength to do the work that needs to be done, arms to hold us when we falter, a circle of healing, a circle of friends, somewhere where we can be free.
Love is the spirit of this meeting house. This is our great covenant. To dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another.
When I breathe in, I breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I breathe out love. When I breathe in, I breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I breathe out love.
Ira Byock has written that years ago, anthropologist Margaret Mead was asked by a student what she considered to be the first sign of civilization in a culture. The student expected Mead to talk about fish hooks or clay pots or grinding stones. But no, Mead said that the first sign of civilization in an ancient culture was a femur, a thigh bone, that had been broken and then healed. Mead explained that in the animal kingdom, if you break your leg, you die. You cannot run from danger, get to the river for a drink, or hunt for food. You're meat for prowling beasts. No animal survives a broken leg long enough for the bone to heal. A broken femur that has healed is evidence that someone has taken time to stay with the one who fell, has bound up the wound, has carried the person to safety, and has tended the person through recovery. Helping someone else through difficulty is where civilization starts, Mead said. We are at our best when we serve others. Be civilized.
We have a hymn that we occasionally sing that begins with, "Just as long as I have breath, I must answer yes to life." So what happens when the breath is literally stolen, as it was with me in the fall of 2017, when I had a lobe of my right lung surgically removed? When I awoke from surgery, my breath was no longer a natural and easy thing to maneuver, but rather a mighty course of pain and effort. How could I physically say yes to life without my breath? At the same time, I had lost a dear friend, sold our beloved home, and was living in temporary quarters. And they never did determine what it was that caused me to need surgery, only that it was imperative that the mysterious, expanding, and erosive mass be removed. It remains a mystery to this day. Needless to say, I was terrified, more terrified than I had ever been. It seemed like too much. Now, I don't tell you this to feel badly for me. I am fine. I am whole. I am healthy, and I'm in better shape than I've been in years, maybe ever. I've even survived the dreaded COVID. But I do tell you this because the actual event is so fittingly metaphorical. My breath and foundation were literally stolen away from me, and I want to talk about the journey back to yes. I learned so much by being taken to my knees, and I wondered what it is that makes it possible to find silver linings. How in life are we able to take blistering blows and turn them into something that makes us deeper, more connected to each other, and filled with gratitude? What is it that moves us to dig out? Is it something to do with rumination versus reflection, as cited by stress researcher Nick Petrie? So the ruminant is a large animal that swallows its food, regurgitates it, and swallows it again, repeatedly, chewing its cud. And I have been there, reliving situations, staying in the darkness, mulling over my litany of losses, unable to dig out. I don't think I'm alone in this. Many of us know people stuck in memories, those who are seemingly unable to move on from them, only to live largely in sadness and ache. Conversely, there are times when the darkness sweeps in and we turn to reflection. There are people who suffer unimaginable loss and grief, who somehow find ways to survive and thrive. It's as if the hardship has shaped their life and they take it on as their own work to give it significance and to clarify who it is they are in this world to be. How's that possible? Could it be a search for meaning, for other ways of managing, of gleaning lessons from the pain? I don't mean to suggest denying the pain in any way. Rather, it is reflecting on the pain or grief in such a way as to deepen our connections and ultimately find grace and even thanksgiving. Sometimes it seems that life can be like a game of Jenga. You know, that game where you build up those long rectangular pieces into a structure and then you begin to remove the pieces one by one and hope that the structure remains standing. Truthfully, at this juncture of my life, I'm not so sure that the inevitable structural collapse is a bad thing. It is through these blows to our foundations that we find opportunity. And is transcendence too strong a word? You tell me. I use the word transcendence because I think of it as an opportunity for spiritual growth. And I am drawn to those who find resilience, who are able to see and share in the lessons they have gleaned. There's a generosity of spirit in this, a poignant reveal of one's vulnerabilities, a growth, a grand growth, as though grace has brushed the soul. It is reflection that makes us wiser, validates us, and just holds us in connection. There are some who are unable to dig out, and there are others who practice denial. Haven't you ever had the experience where someone or even yourself will say, "No worries, it's all good," or something along those lines, and you just know that isn't the real truth? When I was 17, my best friend Michael was killed on a motorcycle. We had been constant friends from a very early age, and I loved him very deeply. When my mother told me of his death, she added, "God weaves mysterious ways." Well, yeah, I guess that might have been true for her, but it really was not helpful to me at the time. I would have much rather entered into a soft and supportive embrace. I contrast it with my experience with Michael's brother, Mark, who wrapped me in his arms, cried with me, exchanged sweet memories, and generally saw my grief. It lent humanity to the unthinkable. That is where the divine lies for me, in reflection. Now, maybe aging brings lessons. I don't know. I think of my life in this meeting house, and it brings to mind the seventh principle of Unitarian Universalism, namely, respect for the interdependent web of all existence of which we are a part. I have been through deep distress, disappointment, and darkness, as it was in the fall of 2017. And many of you have been there as my witness. You saw me, heard me, touched me, and fed me. It is within this group of people that I have learned, in the words of Stacey Abrams, this uncommon grace of community. I have learned to be vulnerable, to be heard, and to be embraced in that soft space I so longed for in my earlier life. I have learned to listen and to embrace. I am in a community where we practice love. So many ways of offering love, from meals and flowers to just being present. I am, at this point, a vessel filled with your acceptance of me as who I am and where I am. I am loved. You are loved. The Reverend Peter Fleck, who in the 80s and 90s was a true father to this meeting house. He and his wife fled his native Amsterdam after the Nazi invasion of the Netherlands in the 1940s. And after his retirement as a world-renowned international investment banker and venture capitalist, he was ordained as a UU minister. The Provincetown Meeting House was immensely important to him, and he served as my guide when I was board president and throughout the AIDS crisis. He was beloved to those of us who knew him. I miss him to this day. He taught us how to love one another deeply. He was a wise and formative leader and a mentor. In his book, Come As You Are, he says, in a loving relationship, gifts are constantly given and constantly received by touch, by eye contact, by exchange of words and gestures in a million different ways. He goes on to remind us that it is in receiving that we give. That is the law of love. That is the law of life. This community, all of you, have the uncanny ability to grow in spirit from a cocktail of grief and pain and add it on to who you are, to who we are. You are the ones that say yes to life. You are the ones who journeyed with me back to yes. The spirit of love is always here, always, even in times of strife and conflict. That is our interdependence. That is our foundation. We do it all the time. We respect each other as we travel through this life side by side. Loving one another has meaning. It has consequences. It changes us. I am changed by it. The whole of that hymn I referred to earlier addresses pain, disappointment, and loss of faith. In the end of each of its 3 verses, it says, if they ask what I did well, tell them I said yes to life, to truth, and to love. May we always be willing to love one another until the kindness of yes settles in. Blessed be, and amen.
Just as long as I have breath, I must answer yes to life. Though with pain I made my way, still hope I breathe each day. If they ask what I did well, tell them I said yes to life. Just as long as vision lasts, I must answer yes to truth. In my dream and in my dark, always I use its spark. If they ask what I did well, tell them I said yes to truth. Just as long as my heart beats, I must was too hard. Disappointment pierced me through. Still I kept on loving you. If there was